Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Interfaith Friends Vodcast, a vodcast of Shepherd of the Lake Lutheran Church, where we value our neighbor's faith. We honor the sacred stories of our neighbors as we learn from one another and work together to foster a more just and peaceful world. My name is Laila, Service Pastor of Lifelong Learning, and I am thrilled to have my friend Prabhat here with us today. And he is going to talk with us about Diwali. Prabhat and I have had the pleasure of serving on several interfaith panels together in the past, and I've always enjoyed his insights and his knowledge and just his big, beautiful heart. And so if you would please welcome Prabhat. And Prabhat, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Namaste, everyone, and thank you, Laila. I would like to say or assert that I am a human being first. That's the approach that I like to take. And I really appreciate when you say, you respect your neighbor's faith. And in that neighbor, I would like to include not only just human beings, but the animals, the environment, the trees, the waters around us. Because after all, we do need balance in nature for our life to be more successful. So there is a saying that I grew up with. It's called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, meaning the whole earth is my family. And that includes, all the animate as well as inanimate things. So we respect each and every life, actually. And when we say no life as well, as we say it. Thank you. And I have been in the US, by the way, for about 39 years. I come from India originally. I did come to the US for my graduate educations in mechanical engineering. And then after that, I worked at several corporations like GE, Verizon, and all that. But lately, my interest has been really to serve the community through the temples, through interfaith groups, as Laila pointed out. And that really fascinates me because I get to know the people in the community, and then I really learn a lot from them. So my motto is, as long as one is a willing student, one can learn from everything and everyone at every event, every time. We just have to be a student lifelong. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you, Prabhat. And I failed to mention, Prabhat, that you are a practicing Hindu, correct?
Yes, that's
correct. Interfaith friends. Well, which religion, which faith are we talking about today? That's a helpful bit of information. Prabhat, there's a really big festival coming up very soon. And actually, once this is edited and then folks are watching it, it will have just begun, just happened. Can you tell us what that is and a little bit about it? I think it's called Diwali, correct? Okay.
The formal name is, yes, that is correct. The formal name is Deepavali, but in short, it is called Diwali. It is, easier to pronounce. So this is overall the most popular and the most widespread festival from India. So yes, it is the Diwali. So what Diwali means is like deep plus avali. So deep is lamps, avali is rose. So rose of lamps. So what we do, we really celebrate this festival by lighting up the rows of lamps all around the house. And, even on the roads, many places, all the buildings and kind of all kinds of infrastructure. So that's where the name comes from. But there is the most popular story behind is that comes from the scriptures that this Lord Ram, whose wife Sita was kidnapped by this demon by the name Ram, who was very, very well educated, by the way. But then, some demon nature took over and he kidnapped Lord's wife. And on this day, Lord Rama, he came back to his kingdom, Ayodhya. So he traveled from the current day Sri Lanka. It was known as Lanka in those days, many, thousands of years ago. And when he came back, the subjects welcomed their king and queen, and also their brother. The king's brother was also with them to fight the war. So they welcomed them by lighting up these lamps along the path around their houses. And since that day, the practice has existed. So that is what Diwali is. However, let me also share one more story, which is a little bit more scientific actually in nature. And that is, it comes after rainy season. Like right now, I am in India, and today also it rained quite a bit, even though monsoon is supposed to be almost over, but it's still lingering a little bit here and there. So during the monsoon season, we have a lot of insects, that do come about during the rainy season. And then when we really light up these lamp, all these insects that tend to fly into the flame, these are open, oil fired lamps usually. So they fly into the flames and they kill themselves. That also protects the crop that is going to come actually very soon after Diwali. So that is also one of the other story. And there are a few others that will come about, I think, during our conversation.
So is Diwali always on November 4th, or is it does it move? And so when is Diwali celebrated each year?
Yeah. So, the Hindu calendar, just like the Islamic calendar, is based on lunar movement. So it is based on it's a moon-based calendar. So moon-based calendar is 354 days in a year. So there are about 11 days difference compared to our Gregorian calendar, the solar calendar. And those 11 days, in 3 years' time, they become 33 days, almost a month. So every 3 years in the Hindu lunar calendar, we have an extra month. And because of that adjustment, Diwali will always come, mostly in November, sometimes late October. So there is some variation, but that variation hardly goes beyond 10, 15, 20 days. Unlike, you have Eid or Muharram in the Islamic festivals, they will keep going around. Whereas the Hindu festivals, they will be within the narrow range of 15 to 20 days of Gregorian calendar. So you can safely say it's in the month of November, sometimes late October.
That's
and
like our
is,
Easter.
And it is the dark, what do you call that? The dark moon night. So that's the 15th day of the month called Kartik, which is the 8th month of the Hindu calendar, Hindu lunar calendar.
Thank you. We our Easter is always the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. And so it two moves, but it's usually within, it's very rarely, but sometimes it's late March through like late April, but it's usually like second or third week of April. So
yes.
Yeah. So what are your favorite memories of Diwali, or what is one tradition that you just look forward to every year?
Right. So during Diwali time, especially in that little community that I grew up in India, it's a business community. They will try to make sure that all the family members, no matter where they are in the world, they should be home. So they would like to celebrate together. And we worship this goddess Lakshmi, which is the goddess of wealth, opulence. So because it's a business community, they are more inclined to worshiping that goddess, the goddess of wealth, right? Business is about profits. And so that's one thing that I look forward to, that the families get together. However, in the modern day world, when, I live in the US and families back in India, practically it's not possible. So I get to see Diwali at home once every few years. So this year happens to be the lucky year for me that I'm in India already. So that's one. I remember at one time it was after a gap of 17 years that I participated, in Diwali at home. The other thing that I look for, of course, very good food, but the firecrackers. The firecrackers are really all around India. Because it's celebrated all over India. So as a child, I would look forward to really, firing some crackers. And we will start like few days in advance and it will linger over a few days afterwards as well. So those are the memories. And then because it's like a 5-day festival, even though it's one day, that dark moon night, but 2 days before it and 2 days after that, we have kind of a series of festivals. So the right next day to Diwali, we have something called Anna Kut. Anna is a grain, and Kuti, you basically grind it. So we make like 56 different kinds of foods, and we will decorate and offer it to God the next day to Diwali also. So that's another favorite day. And then the day after, again, which is 2 days after Diwali day, it is called Bhaiya Dooj. Dooj is the second day. Dooj means second day, and Bhaiya is brothers. So it's a brother's day. So all the sisters will feed their brothers, actually. So that happens 2 days after Diwali. So it's really a festive season rather than just one festival.
Yeah,
Diwali.
yeah. So, what is your favorite food? Do you have a favorite one of those 56 different kinds of food?
Oh, so sweets are always favorite, especially when you're a child.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, since I'm in India currently, fortunately, my younger brother's wife, she has been cooking. So it's called Long Lata. Another one is Chandra Kala. Chandra is moon. Kala is the art of moon. So this sweet is made in the shape of moon, which is not only just round, but a little bit serrated at the edge.
Okay.
So I really love it. And it's a specialty because you don't make them very often, only on festival days. And usually they are not available in the market as well.
Oh, okay. So very special.
Right. Right.
So how can, if I have neighbors who are celebrating Diwali here, like actual down the street neighbors, what is a greeting that I would use if I see them or want to go wish them happy Diwali on November 4th? Like, how can I be a good neighbor to my neighbors who are celebrating Diwali? Or is there something I can bring over? Or how do I be a good neighbor?
Yes. So certainly, we do say Happy Diwali because thanks to the British rule in India that we are used to speaking English as well in majority of the neighborhoods in India, many neighborhoods in India, people, all those people who are educated, they speak English, they tend to speak English. So Happy Diwali is very common, which goes well for foreigners as well, if you don't know Hindi. Or you can say Diwali ki Shubhkamnaएं, which is Happy Diwali.
Okay, can you teach that to me? Can we break it down? Diwali.
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 Ki. Shubh.
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 Shubha.
Shubha. Kamnaएं.
Kamnaएं.
Yes.
Okay.
So good greetings of Diwali.
Good greetings of Diwali. Okay, and that's Hindi.
That's Hindi, yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So walking down the lane, let's say, looking at the neighbors, especially if you're walking around the business area, business district, they will all be doing this Diwali puja. Puja is worship. So Diwali worship, that goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, is being worshipped. So they will always distribute sweets after the worship is over. It's a practice. So kids can go around the shops, around the businesses, and they will collect this couple of laddus, the sweet balls, the sweets, from each of the shops, and they're very happy to distribute. So you can bring home loads of them actually. So,
Mm.
so that's so in the business community, that's what happens. In the business district, I should say. Now around homes, what we do is the following morning. So during the nighttime, everybody's busy celebrating, firing crackers, doing their own worship, eating their sweets. But then on the streets, they do firecrackers on the streets. So then you can see the neighbors, and we share, just like 4th of July. We do the same. Like in my neighborhood, I was in Lakeville, Minnesota, and I did light up some of the crackers, some of the fireworks along with my neighbors in Lakeville, Minnesota. There. So similarly, we do light up the sky together along with this. So we do that. It is a festival of lights, also you can say. And then in the morning, the following morning, the practice has been in some communities, not all communities of India, that we would go to neighbors and then also to relatives. So relatives can be far away in town. We will still walk or ride or bike or whatever. But neighbors who are nearby will walk over to their house, and all the youngsters, they will pay their respect to the elders in that family. So that has been a practice. And we do that once a year, so the morning after Diwali.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. And I've learned a lot, and I always enjoy our conversations. So, Prabhat, thank you so much.
So if you can allow me another minute or so.
Yes, of course.
To give you, a little bit deeper meaning, because the way I learned from the scriptures, there are always two sides or two parts to anything that we do, any action. One is external. It comes from the Vedas. So it's called Gyan. Gyan means knowledge or wisdom. So Gyan is kind of subtle. It's internal. It's non-matter. It is intangible. The other part is karma. Karma is effort, action, that is external, that is gross, that is matter. And in our lives, there's a continuous conversion between the two. So when Einstein came back with E equal to mc square, E is energy, m is mass, c being the velocity of light squared. So that conversion between E and m, the energy and mass, energy being the subtle, invisible, so to speak. Sometimes you can see, because the light you can see. So, but it's the subtle form, whereas M, the matter, is the gross form. And then, so for example, right now we are conversing with each other, right? So the first comes the thought, and then thought drives the action, in this case, speaking, and then also, those actions, they will create further thoughts in your mind. So there's a continuous conversion all the time happening in every action in this world. So similarly, when I do say it's Festival of Lights, all the things, we should really get that enlightenment in our hearts internally. So equivalent of Gyan, or the wisdom, the subtle part. And those are, usually 6 things are stated. And they are, first I will say in Hindi, then I will try to translate or find the right word in English. It's calm. Calm is lust. Krodh is anger. Mad is arrogance. Kam, Krodh, Mad. Lobh is greed. And then the 5th one is moh, that is attachment. Number 6 is matsar. Matsar would be jealousy. So those are the 6 ills that we should try to get rid of, especially moh, the attachment. I translate it as disown. If we start disowning everything, Meaning, I do my duties, but I leave the results to the nature because I have no control. So if I do not attach myself, if I disown, if I do not own, then I will not be unhappy. We become unhappy because we have the ownership in this world, the ownership of wealth, the ownership of buildings, the ownership of relationship even. So yes, you do act and react with the world because we cannot live in this world without action as long as we have this body. But then after the action, you detach, meaning you don't claim, rights to, or you don't claim the ownership to the rights or to the fruits of your action. They will happen automatically. And that, in my personal opinion, in my experience as well, I would say, is really key to living life. As in, I'm getting long here. Sorry for that. But I was visiting Durban, South Africa 2 years ago, just around this time in 2019, to visit my daughter in Mozambique, the neighboring country. She was part of US Peace Corps there. And so I went to visit her, and as part of visit, I went to the neighboring country, South Africa, and I spent 5 days in Durban, where Mahatma Gandhi, had spent his time, and he had some success with the South African government against apartheid, meaning he got a couple of representations in the assembly. So H.G. Wells, I read there, he was tasked by England to develop a constitution on human rights. And he wrote a letter to Mahatma Gandhi asking for his advice. Mahatma Gandhi wrote, "We have right to our duties." So meaning we should be focusing on our action, on our duty, on our karma. Let the nature take care of the results. They will automatically be generated, because there are other factors that will play the role. So anyway, I would like to conclude with that. Unless you have something more as something to take away from Diwali as well. Disown, meaning do not attach, but you put your full effort to your duties, to helping somebody, being delivering selfless service to others, to neighbors that you asked for, during Diwali or otherwise, during Christmas or otherwise.
Yes.
That giving spirits, charity spirits that we have in mind, that we talk about time to time, that should become part of our working, part of our nature. Slowly we have to cultivate that in us, in me.
Yeah.
In me,
Yeah.
I should say, I should be responsible for me.
Yes.
Just thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhat. This has been, no pun intended, but very enlightening. And I wish you just a wonderful and light-filled experience of Diwali at home this year. I'm so glad you get to be there with your family and soak it up. And I look forward to the next time that we get to be together again. Thank you.
Thank you, Laila. Namaste, everyone, once again.
Namaste. Thank you, Prabhat.